Hello everyone. I want to welcome you to this month's Champions Edge webinar for January 2014. I'm Coach Michael Regan. I'm an executive coach here with Building Champions, and I'm glad you've joined us today. I typically start off my coaching sessions reminding people that this is a great opportunity to remove the distractions during our 20 minutes together today. So if possible, be in a place where you're free from distractions, free from phone calls. Turn your browser down, turn your email to an off position, and let's spend some time together drilling into how we can achieve more in 2014 with less. And I've got some good news. We're going to focus on what I like to call a keep it simple philosophy. So just know up front that we're going to do everything we can to remove the complications. We're going to focus on the best resource that we offer for achieving more with less, which at Building Champions is our life plan. Some of you may have seen that before, and others that may be new. We'll spend some time unpacking that. And I really want to encourage you as we get started that this is an opportunity for you to think differently in order for you to do things differently in 2014. So if you're taking notes, write that down. We're going to think differently. So as the graphic suggests, we're welcoming you to the new year. There's lots of new possibilities. Of course, there's lots of new opportunities for you to grow. And when I sit in the coach's seat, I visit with a lot of my clients, and I do hear a lot of focus, of course, on goals and New Year's resolutions. I find myself wondering, how many of those really last? And what would it take if we were to make the changes that result in a difference, things that won't fade in the springtime? And is there a better way than just setting goals and making resolutions? Of course, I believe we've got some good answers for that. First, I'd like to touch on a brief overview of Building Champions because I know some of you are new to the call and others of you join us from time to time on these webinars. We're a one-on-one coaching company. And you'll find us to be made up of a dedicated group of coaches that bring some experience and personal success from business to the table with their clients. We have very individualized coaching that utilizes this core 4 success puzzle that you see in front of you. So of course today life planning is the topic that we will unpack as how to achieve more with less. We also have business vision, business plan, and priority management on the screen. We may touch on those in today's conversation, but know that that represents the focus of our Building Champions coaching. And we make sure that all of our clients get very specific and relevant action plans related to their number one needs, and that way we can provide accountability for the results that matter most to them. So I'd like to cover the topic we touched on at the beginning of our call. It's the one that many of us face in January of a new year. And of course, that topic is goals. Now, I need to tell you, like many of you, I set goals. At my company, we love to set goals. In fact, we reference goals in our coaching. Goals are a big part of our business vision tool that we use. And you need to know right up front, goals are important. So when we unpack goals and put them in the context of a life plan, make sure you know that those aren't an either-or proposition. Because what I see is most of our clients, when they're honest with me, they express challenges with goals. All right? They all set them. You've probably set them. I know I do. And you set many of them at the beginning of the year, and certainly you do achieve some of them, but not all. And so I find myself, of course, asking why. What is it about goal setting that is so hard? And why is it that most of us struggle to set really great goals or to achieve all of our goals? Now, I'm going to tell you that I assume when we talk about goals that our goals are specific. They're measurable, they're attainable, they're relevant, and of course time-based. Some of you know that acronym. We refer to that as a SMART goal. And I have to assume that those are true first, because without that filter, and I'll repeat those if you're taking notes, they need to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. But even goals with those 5 factors addressed still need a key ingredient that is often missing. Those goals need the framework of a plan. So today, we're going to unpack the tool that I suggest is the most important place to start. It's certainly where we start most of our clients here at Building Champions, and that's drafting a life plan. Now, there's a reason that life planning is a core 4 tool here at Building Champions. When Daniel Harkavy first introduced it, many found it to be the most powerful tool that we've introduced. It's certainly unique. I mean, lots of resources exist for drafting a vision, maybe even a business plan, and there are lots of tools and resources out there that focus on time management. Our focus, of course, is on priority management. But life planning seems to be a unique value proposition here at Building Champions. And so when we introduce it, we find that a lot of our clients tend to approach the subject of life planning from one of 3 common areas. So I'd like for you to take a moment and hear these and decide if you identify with one of these groups, because these are the ones I hear quite often when I'm in the coach's seat, especially on an initial interview call. The first group looks like this. They'll tell me, Michael, I don't know, life planning. My life's pretty good at home. I've got a great relationship with my spouse. You know, my kids and I spend a lot of time together. I work out. I eat well. We take vacations. Seems like our personal finance is in good order. In other words, I really don't know if I want to focus on a life plan. In fact, I'd really like to just focus on growing my business. So that's a group that we hear from, and we certainly acknowledge that, and we have a very clear path to go to help and serve those folks. But we also hear from another group. So this would be kind of a second category, and see if you identify with this. Life's actually pretty good at work, Michael. In fact, I wouldn't be on the call with you today if things weren't going well. I'm really, I've had a pretty successful career. I'm making good money. I have a role that I love. I have a lot of respect in my industry. In fact, most people would say I'm pretty successful. And for me, that feels significant. I like my life at work. But somehow, when I leave the office, that success that I experience at work, it just doesn't translate outside of work. Suddenly I go home and all of the things that I could do so well at work, managing relationships, don't translate with my spouse and my kids. My communication style around the office works perfectly. And then when I communicate with my relationships outside of work, I'm frustrated. And I can show up at work and work 10, 12, 14-hour days, but I never seem to make time to hit the gym or eat well, or even just take a break to go enjoy something that recharges my batteries. You might identify with that group. A lot of folks do. Third group that exists is probably the smaller of the 3, but trust me, if this is you, I do hear from this group as well. Michael, my life feels pretty balanced. In fact, if you were to push me, I'd say right now, I feel like I've got home figured out, I've got work figured out, but here's what just happened in January 2014. My boss came to me and said, we've got to make some changes, and I need you to take on a whole new role that's going to involve a whole level of focus that changes my workload. And to make matters worse, at home, my tiny little kids who were very manageable in, soccer and drama and school, well, suddenly 2 of them are teenagers, and that creates a whole different set of variables in my home. And actually, one of my teenagers is really going through a tough season, and my wife needs me to focus with my teenager because she's busy with the 2 younger ones. And so suddenly, I'm really concerned that I might lose my work-life balance, and yet I still need to grow personally and professionally. Well, let me encourage you. If you've identified with any of those 3 categories of groups when we first introduce our life planning tool with our clients, what we find are many successful, significant professional people who ask us a lot of questions before we get started. Here are a few. Okay, Michael, why is this tool so powerful in its ability to transform the way we live our lives. I get other questions like, how is this tool going to help me lead my business and produce more with less resources this year? It's a fair question. And another question I get is, okay, you're telling me that this is where we start. Will life planning really make my goals and resolutions different if I'm willing to give it a try? And here's what I found. Some of the best answers to those questions are rooted in the power of goal setting within the framework of the life plan. That may sound a bit confusing. Let me unpack that for you. Here's what I've found. Anytime I've set goals, I've based them on things I value, things I care about. I'm going to set goals because I want to achieve things that matter. But when I life plan, I'm taking a deeper cut. My life plan is rooted in my convictions. When I look at my goals, they always help me aim for doing more. And yet my life plan is the tool that helps me remove the distractions so that my goals are possible. And of course, goals always motivate me to try again. But it's my life plan that motivates me to never quit. And the bottom line is really simple. We've all got one life to live. That's it. I need to know, is 2014 the year for you to grow personally? Maybe you need to grow professionally. Maybe you're even in that category that says, it's time for me to go from good to great, both at home and at work. So to help you answer some of those questions, I want to unpack a single word: legacy. Do you know yours? We're going to switch gears here, but stay with me. I've attended my fair share of funerals, and I have to tell you, most of them have some version of a eulogy that helps us capture the legacy of the life that we gather to celebrate as we mourn the loss of a coworker or a friend or a loved one. And yet when I remove myself from those events, here's what I find. Sadly, most of us, if we're honest, we plan out things like our education. We plan out things like our training. We even plan our spring breaks and our summer vacations. Yet very few of us actually prepare for the day when our final chapter is written. So I have to ask you, have you ever paused long enough to consider your legacy as it sits today? You see, someday your story will be told. All of ours will. And look, that may not excite you, but here's an interesting twist. What if you could get so clear on a few really important areas of your life? In fact, you could get so clear that you begin to envision a future that you're actually proud of. Maybe it's one that excites you or even inspires you to think differently or to do something differently. Now try to imagine what your legacy might look like if you got so clear on that future that you actually began to do things differently today because you could tie the results of those actions to a vision of tomorrow that you really value. I told you up front, life planning probably isn't why most of our clients come to Building Champions. As I said, many of them just want to get to the business plan. They really want us to help them manage priorities. The bottom line, they want us to maximize results. This is where real coaching comes in. Our team of executive coaches brings years of experience in various professions, and they all bring a passion for serving clients as they help them draft, develop, and execute their life plans. I know for me, that was the turning point as a client of Building Champions. I came to the table, maybe like many of you at one point, needing help to take the level of success that I had been told I had experienced and yet didn't feel, because I knew deep down inside, I felt like I could never get everything done. I felt like I went to work every day and jumped on a treadmill and just started running. And I was burning a lot of energy. And yet I never got anywhere. I needed a tool that could help me take a few things that I really cared about and get so clear on them that I was no longer needing motivation to take action. In fact, I knew exactly which path to take. So here we are in January of 2014. Many of us have two paths in front of us. In fact, many professionals in your competitive field today have probably already done what you've done this month. They've sat down and they've set 2014 goals. They dug deep into their desk and dusted off an old business plan. Some of them have even made bold predictions on what will happen in the coming year. My encouragement for you, make this the year you do something different. Don't do what your competition is doing this January. Don't make your life more complicated. Remember, you came to this call because you know you need to learn ways to achieve more with less in 2014. So don't set new goals without a life plan. Goal setting without a life plan just leaves leaders like you feeling empty. And when they do have victories, the victories are fleeting. And even worse, at the end of the year, December 31st, you're going to have to erase the slate and do it all over again. Wouldn't you like to think differently this year and do something differently? Wouldn't you like to use a tool that actually helps place your goals in the framework that you really care about, so you can get really clear on the few things you need to do and remove all of those distractions that fill up your day with busyness and keep you from achieving the results that really matter? Now, some of you have been on our calls before. Some of you know a lot about life planning. Let me address that group. Are you looking at your life plan on a regular basis? Have you pulled it out at the beginning of the year and reviewed those accounts to decide, have the variables changed? Is this still reflective of the things that matter most to me before I sit down and draft those goals for 2014? Do I know clearly today what needs to happen in order to achieve great results? If not, it might be time to edit and revise that life plan. My encouragement to you is pull it out, revisit it, and see if you're inspired to make those adjustments. And maybe even create a new life account within your plan that needs your attention in this coming year. Many of our coaches do this on a regular basis. We help our clients review their plan, reflect, and refocus every day, and we're available to help you. If you're interested in learning more about building champions, we've placed some information available to you, and here's the good news. Most of this is available at no cost. So let me walk you through it. If you're hoping that you can break away from the cycle of bad habits or failed goals, and you're actually aiming for a true work-life balance in 2014, if that's something you value and hope to achieve, Building Champions is coaching business and life on purpose, and we welcome you to preview our life planning tool. Our website has a resource for many items of value, but we include a free life planning tool to download. You can also watch your email to see a follow-up from this webinar, allowing you to download that tool and try it out. Of course, we also offer these free monthly webinars hosted by one of our coaches, and there's no commitment beyond the registration, so we welcome you on February 25th to tune in and schedule the March 13th as well. In fact, maybe that's a way to think differently in 2014, is to commit once a month to putting a 20 to 30-minute webinar with Building Champions in your calendar. And finally, for those of you who are ready to dig deeper and learn more about how coaching might help you develop plans and take action toward the future work-life balance that you desire, please contact us. There's no cost or obligation to explore coaching with one of the members of our team. They're happy to help you go over all of our offerings. Those would include the opportunity to discuss one-on-one coaching, and they can even set up an initial no-obligation interview with one of our executive coaches. I want to encourage you today, if you're ready to achieve more with less in 2014, I hope you'll stay in touch with us. I hope you'll find a way to think differently and do something differently. And I'm certainly available if you'd like to continue that conversation offline. My email address is michael@buildingchampions.com. I appreciate you tuning in today, and I hope you'll share this message with someone who would value it, and I look forward to staying in touch. Have a great day.